Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We are welcoming you from our beautiful sanctuary. We are indoors today. It was beautiful outside once the sun hit a little bit, and it was nice
night.
to be outdoors.
Great night.
As always, you can find the link to the prayer book pages, PDF for the service in the comments. Important information will appear in the comments during the service, and for that we thank Dave Zucker and Aviva Simons who are managing our streaming. Please say hi if you're watching by typing Shabbat Shalom in the comments line, and don't forget to click enter. Just a reminder about the page numbers. We have two sets. We're calling the numbers in the brackets. So you can go ahead and find Shabbat morning service Roman numeral number 2 in your Mishkan Tefillah, or simply go to the first page of the prayer packet. The pages have numbers, and they are at the bottom of the corner of the image. If you're following the service on the PDF file, we're using all the pages. If you need some immediate technical help, please text our hotline, 913-303-1134. If you'd like to share some feedback about the service, we will invite you to take notes and send us an email during the week with your comment. We thank you in advance. Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome again. We continue together on page 288 as we offer thanks for having been restored to this beautiful morning and have the ability and the strength to be back online. It was a bit draining for us last night, but so we are got a good night's sleep, and we are back here, and we're thankful for that. Join us on page 288.
מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך. מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה. רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך.
We continue together at the top of page 291. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network, wondrous maker and sustainer of life. Were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would like the strength to sustain life before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch Ata Adonai, Rofeh Chol Basar Umafli La'asot.
Shabbat
Page 293, we continue with our blessings for daily miracles, Nisim B'chol Yom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesech vivina lehachvin ben yom uven laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokev kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokaret al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, המכין מצעדי גבר.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
אמן. ברוך אתה, אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן ליהב כוח.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina meinai utnuma me'afapai.
אמן. ברוך אתה, אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorim.
אמן. ברוך אתה, אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura.
ברוך אתה, אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen.
We continue together in the middle of page 302 as we sing the words of Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir LeYom Shabbat, a psalm, a song for Shabbat. We begin with the word Tzadik Katamar. We conclude this section of our service, Pezukei de Zimbra, songs of praise, by singing together the words of Psalm 150 on page 306.
Hallelujah.
On page 317, we prepare for the recitation of the Shema as we recite together the blessing before the Shema. And then you can find the Shema on page 318 and 319 right after this. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel, and joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would turn to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להורות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו מה עשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Together on page 322, we continue with Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא. יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא.
We now prepare for our Amidah, our silent prayer. It begins on page 323 and it will go all the way through page 337. At home, you may choose to use the words in our Siddur and pray the Amidah traditional all the way to the end. You can take this time to offer a private prayer and meditation and moment with your loved ones on this beautiful Shabbat day that we are sharing. We begin on page 322 with Sur Israel, Sur Israel, and then we move into the Amidah from there.
Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael ufedech ilumech עבדה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Adonai sefer tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
נצחים ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש.
Our service will continue with the service for the reading of the Torah, which begins on page 367 as we together join in singing. Hold on a second. Romemu. 367. I can't remember what we were doing. 367 Romemu. And this is when we do the Hakafah, so to speak. We're actually getting the Torah scroll out. So we don't know what you can do at home, too.
I would love there to be a lot of little home hakafot happening.
I know I said this many times, but every time I go like this, I feel so frum, you know. Especially going to conservative synagogues or Orthodox synagogues in Israel a lot. People who wear this big chalitz and everybody, constantly there's movement.
It's very regal.
It's a thing, yes, it's a thing to just, you know. So you have to kind of learn how to do this so it doesn't fall over, but it does keep falling over. It's
Velcro would fix that, but I feel like that's
well,
probably
but then
not.
I don't get to do it, and then defeats the purpose. It's part of it.
It is a reminder. There seems to be a lot of ritual that is the right. So if you're holding your tzitzit, if you're pushing that over your shoulder, that is a reminder that you are doing something
That's
very
about it,
purposeful.
yeah. Just to for me, it gets on the way of trying to read. So we are beginning a new book of the Torah, the last book, the book of Dvarim. In English, is called Deuteronomy. And for those of you who are familiar with the structure of the Torah, you probably already know that the book of Deuteronomy by itself is a separate animal altogether. Whereas most of the Torah talks about speeches, so to speak, or words that God transmits through Moses to the people. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses does all the talk. And it takes about a whole book to do all the many speeches, 4 or 5, depends how you count them,
right,
that Moses gives, and then he dies, and that's the end of the Torah. But there's not a lot of narrative going on here. And the first Torah portion, it's also called Dvarim, has the same name as the book, and it really goes on a section where you will hear lots of names of places, from Ramses, all the different places that the Jews went through on their way from the land of Egypt to the gates of the land of Israel, to the promised land. And remember also that was a trip that was supposed to last a few months, and it lasted 40 years. So they stopped at a lot of places in the way there. So we'll kind of go over the geography of that place. And if you had a map, it would basically go, instead of straight across the Sinai Peninsula, you kind of drop down and then around, and then to the other side of the Jordan River, and then you're on the east and you're coming in from the east. Not the most direct, least to say, story or itinerary. In the middle of Moses telling the people, we went through all these different places, Moses retells a story that is very familiar to us. And it's a story of the scouts, of those who go into the land of Israel to figure out, is it a place that we can go in? Can we conquer it or not? There are 2 or 3 reasons why Moses doesn't get to enter the land of Israel. Some suggest that it's because he killed the Egyptian back in Egypt. Others say it's because he actually gave in to the scouts, to the people who went into the land. And yet others suggest that it's because God asked him to strike the rock once to get water, and he did it twice. Whatever the reasons are, he kind of recapitulates a little bit on the reasons, but one thing remains, and I think it's an overarching idea in the book of Deuteronomy, and it's specific to this week's Torah portion, because the first speech, it could be really seen as a first speech or as a sort of a set up speech for what's to come. What remains clear is that Moses is not going to be able to get into the land. He's going to remain on Mount Nebo, or Nebo in English. And that is a place where he gets to look at the entire kind of prize of his life, but he doesn't get to get it. You may remember that we've together studied some poems by Rachel, who is a very famous Israeli poet. She just goes by Hameshoreret Rachel, the poet Rachel, and I think we did a song for Yom Ha'atzmaut, for Israel independence, and many of you know her from your studies and just being around. So she actually coined a phrase, which is Ish unevo lo, which means literally a man and his nevo, his nebo. In other words, that each person has his or her own nebo to deal with. And I briefly want to share with you that section of the poem. It's a very short poem, and it is actually called Mi Neget, from the other side or from the other perspective, something like that. And it's just 3 very short stanzas. And this is how it goes in English. The heart is inclined, the ear attentive. Is he coming? Will he come? In all hope, there is the pain of Nevo. This one facing the other, the 2 shores of one torrent, the cliff of separation, distant forever. To open the palms to see from across, no one comes. Ish unevolo, a man and his nevo, over a great earth at Eretz Rabbah.
Nice.
In the Women's Torah Commentary, a friend of mine, Rabbi Bortz, who I just heard moved to Israel this week, they made Aliyah.
Wow.
We were students kind of together. We go back years back to Argentina. So we used to hang out in Jerusalem. We lived close by when we were there. And she writes, Nebo is the symbolic place of all our disappointments. grave of the desired goals not fulfilled. Nebo is the reality of what Moses wishes to do but is forbidden, although he wants to cross the threshold. And I know that many of us, when we look at the stories of Moses and of the people, we try to identify with some of their struggles. And this one, I think, is a struggle that many of us face at one point or another. And I think makes Moses even more human, that each one of us have our own nevo, that thing where we can have to put all our disappointments. And again, I don't want to go to a common place, but I will. I mean, this pandemic really had made our nevo grow, I think, exponentially. And I think that sometimes we may be able to do some of the things that we wanted to do, but at some level, I think that some things will stay in Nevo. We're not going to be able to recover them. And one thought that Rabbi Bortz has on this particular one and why Moses cannot enter the land is that he is at a point in his life who's really achieved a lot.
Yes.
And she uses a phrase that comes from some of the sources that Moses is pregnant with the Jewish people.
Interesting phrasing, but yes, I'll go with that.
So he has really worked for this moment.
Yeah.
And he is going to basically expel, let the people go into the land, and he will stand behind. So the reason I think some of the commentators explain is that Moses spends so much time with the people that he's really belonging to that part of history. And now he's going into, they are going into a new land. And again, on this pandemic, I think that we, oh, excuse me. And we are indoors, so I don't know why I'm having any allergies, but it's coming. So Moses will stay behind, right, at his own niveau, and the people will continue to move forward. And I think that some things are going to be left behind for us in this pandemic, and, and some things will move forward. And Moses shows us an example of taking this opportunity that he still has to do the best that he can. He's still a Nevo, and now he's going to take a whole book to make sure that all the teachings that he had are kept. And then he will stay behind, and the people will move on. So we may have to leave some things behind and then continue moving forward together in a different direction. And oh, sure, thank you. We're not, thank you. I'm sure we just violated some kind of rule there.
I'm sorry, yes. Pick your battles. I think you needed that.
Sorry. So, so perhaps this is Moses' way. He's staying at Mount Nebo, and this is a way of teaching us that sometimes it's okay to just leave things there, and that others will move on, and that good things will come in the future. We may or may not be part of everything, but it's okay. We've done a lot thus far, and we will continue. So, this is our beginning of the Torah portion. We are reading from the book of Dvarim, beginning on verse number 1, the very first word, and go through verse number 8, which again is basically mostly an introduction and all the different places that they stopped. But before that, we will together recite the alternative blessings before the reading of the Torah on page 369. Holy One of blessings, your presence fills creation. You have enlightened this path with the wisdom of Torah, giving it to the Jewish people as their particular way. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people. And I'm going to go slowly a little bit, so I want everybody to make sure that you hear all the names of places that we are actually talking about here. So it says, Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Israel be'ever hayarden bebidbar ba'arava mul suf bein paran uvein tofel ולבן וחצרות ודי וזהב 11 יום מחורב דרך הר שעיר עד קדש ברנע ויהיה ב40 שנה ו12 חודש באחד לחודש דיבר משה אל כל בני ישראל ככל אשר ציווה אדוני אותו עליהם אחרי הכותו את סיחון מלך האמורי, אשר יושב בחשבון, ואת אוג מלך הבשן, אשר יושב באשתרות, בעדרי, בעבר הירדן, בארץ מואב. הואיל משה באר את התורה הזאת לאמור, אדוני אלוהינו דיבר אלינו בחורב לאמור, רב לכם שבת בהר הזה, פנו וסעו לכם ובאו הר האמורי אל כל שכניו בערבה, בהר ובשפלה, ובנגב ובחוף הים, ארץ הכנעני והלבנון עד הנהר הגדול, נהר פרת. ראה נתתי לבניכם את הארץ, בואו ורשו את הארץ, אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיכם, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב, לתת להם ולזרעם אחריהם. Sometimes I forget that I want to read it in English because not everybody has them. So here's a translation. In one word of caution, there's one thing that is missing that you should all realize after I read it, but I will say it before. And in the book of Deuteronomy, there is no Mount Sinai. It's called Horeb. So that's for another story, but so that you know. So you're like, wait a minute, they didn't stop at Sinai? Yes, they did. But here it's called Horeb. These are the words that Moses addressed to all Israel on the other side of the Jordan through the wilderness in the Arabah near Suf between Paran and Tofel, Laban, Chazerot, and Di Zahav. It is 11 days from Horeb, that's Sinai, Mount Sinai, to Kadesh Barnea, by the Mount Seir route. It was in the 40th year of the first day of the 11th month that Moses addressed the Israelites in accordance with the instructions that the Lord had given him for them, after he had defeated Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelled in Heshbon, and King Og of Bashan, who dwelled at Ashtaroth and Edrei, and the other side of the Jordan and the land of Moab. Moses undertook to expound this teaching, and he said, the Lord of God spoke to us of Horeb. You've stayed too long enough at this mountain. Start and go out of your way and go to the land that God had promised to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them. Page 369. Alternative blessings after the reading of the Torah. Holy One of blessings, your presence fills creation. This Torah is a teaching of truth, whole and balanced, and from it comes eternal light for the people who embrace it. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people. And as we gather on this Shabbat, we offer a prayer for those in need of healing. You may access the Mishe Berach list through the e-news that you received yesterday. And you can also follow the link here in the comments. If you like to offer names, please type them in the comments so we can all see them. So please go ahead and type the names now. We offer a prayer for those in need of healing. We also think of those who help in healing. First responders and health workers all over the world who are working extra time during this pandemic. May the one who blessed and let our forebears give countenance unto those who provide help for the ill and the troubled among us. May they be filled with fortitude and courage, endowed with sympathy and compassion, as they give strength to those at their side. May they fight against despair and continue to find within themselves the will to reach out to those in need. And in their love of others, may they feel the blessing of community and the blessing of renewed faith. Our service for the reading of the Torah concludes with Etz Chaim on page 374. We now continue with our moment of remembrance, and as we prepare for that moment on page 592, we share together meditation. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and all men that wait to die, And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that is left of me is love, give me away. This moment we remember our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We are observing the Shloshim period for Brenda Safer, sister and sister-in-law Judy and Marshall Weingarten, Susan Grebner-Gueri, sister and sister-in-law of Barbara and Mike Ginsberg, Judith Phyllis Frimmerman, aunt of Paula Frimmerman, Radine Shaw, mother and mother-in-law of Roseanne and Randy Deitch, and Irma Schneiderson, stepmother and stepmother-in-law of Mark and Reagan Schneiderson, and step-grandmother of Carly and Beth. If you are joining us on this Shabbat and remembering a loved one, we invite you to type their names on the comment lines. On this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Manuel Altman, Patty Bastable, Theodore Berman, Theodore Bloom, Dorothy Butwin, Eleanor Capson, Jerome Dribin, Daniel Eliashar, Gussie Friedson, Paul Giddle, Rod Landreth, Pam Lear, Saul Lieberman, Ben Milgram, Rosalia Penner, George Reedy, Sterling Ronai, Bess Rosentrader, Francis Zurovsky Sandhaus, Eva Sandler, Mel Sains, Albert Schoenwetter, Grace Schaffran, Barbara Levin Thompson, Aida Timmerman, Betty Warady, Celia Schwartz Kempfner Saichik. Zichronam Livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. On page 598, we join together in Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Itgadal ve'itgadash shemei rabba, ve'alema divra chirute ve'amlich malchute, בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דא אמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. Before we part, we have a few announcements. First, we'd like to thank everyone who joined us from our area and from around the country and the world. Thanks to Leslie Zucker for her lovely music, and to Dave Zucker and Aviva Simons for helping our congregation have a virtual presence. Just a reminder that we are now open during regular office hours, but you must have an appointment to be led into the building. Our entire staff can be reached by email or via Facebook Messenger. You can also call us here, and we are here for you anytime during the week. Our next Facebook Live Shabbat service will be Friday, July the 31st at 6:30 p.m. If you would like to join us for Torah study, our Shabbat, Sichat Shabbat, will take place next Saturday at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Please leave us your emails in the comments and we'll add you. We're still providing meals for homebound members of Calvary Temple Baptist Church, If you're interested, please email Aviva at connect@beth-torah.org for more information. The Community Blood Center of Kansas City will still be taking very much needed blood donations. You can find the link for more information on the notes of our section in our Facebook page.
We're also
Leslie?
collecting hygiene items to donate to the Calvary Community Outreach Network. And the staff and board will actually be sitting outside doing a contactless collection of that on August 2nd in the morning. Check your e-news for more details about what is being collected. And I also had, so my mom watches services from afar, from where she lives, and she wanted to help donate. So she emailed me a check, and I went out and I got the stuff and I donated it. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is I realize there may be some people who don't feel safe even going to the store and picking things up or coming in, even doing a contactless drop-off. Find a friend, reach out to somebody. You can still help, and I am sure there are people in our community who will help you help. So there's always a way. No song session on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, but I will be back the first Wednesday of August. We're having Havdalah tonight at 8 o'clock on Facebook Live on our main Facebook page. Our next virtual Oneg was next Friday, July 31st. Watch your e-news, read it, look for the link. And then finally, we have added a learning opportunities group on our Facebook page. Many people have asked for more resources and opportunities for Jewish learning in this time virtually. So if you go to our main page and on the side, click on the button that says groups and then click on learning opportunities. Rabbi Kleinman has been amazing about putting things up there. So go check it out, find all kinds of classes. Okay.
Thank you very much. And so that we understand, there's no session this Wednesday because it's Tisha B'Av.
Right.
So we have other things going on in the community, and all that information is also in our Facebook, and you're getting it all. So that's what's going on this week. We thank you for joining us. And again, remember to check us out on Facebook. You're already watching us there, so you're there. But follow us, and you'll get a lot of other notifications throughout the week. Together, we conclude our time together on this Shabbat on page 626, singing En Keloheinu.
En Keloheinu, en Kadoneinu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu, en Keloheinu, en Kadoneinu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu, mi Eloheinu, mi Kadoneinu, mi Kemalkeinu, mi Kemoshienu. En Keloheinu, en Kadoneinu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu, en Keloheinu, en Kadoneinu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. En Keloheinu, en Kadoneinu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu, en Keloheinu, en Kadoneinu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Be safe out there. Take care of each other.